Hey everybody, welcome back to Man's Advice Forum. I am the Man. Just wanted to talk about, in my experience, what I thought was the biggest challenge of becoming an adult. And, if you see the name of the title, it's called The Biggest Challenge of Adult Life is Other People's Egos. And let me just kind of tell you my experience when I was younger. I never really had that much of an ego because I realized that I wasn't really that good at too many things. Like, I wasn't like a naturally gifted person. And I realized that there's a lot of people who, maybe not a lot of people, but there's a good number of people who are naturally gifted at something like sports or I don't know, maybe they're good at like math or at school. And I was never one of those kids. And so if I had to get good at something, I knew in my mind, like, man, this sucks. I don't want to do it. This is really boring to me. And if I do want to get good at it, I have to put in the time and effort. And that's just how I saw anything that I learned, right? I never thought I was superior to other people. I never thought that I knew things that I never, just because I read about it. And so, and the funny thing is I don't think a lot of my peers were exactly like this. Maybe you could see a little bit of pride and arrogance in the things that they were good at, but it wasn't like, I didn't feel like they were like closed-minded people who couldn't accept like something could be better than the way that they were taught, right? And to me, like I'm not like the most open-minded person, but at the same time, if someone shows me a better way to do things, I'll be like, cool, man. If you can show me a better way, like, awesome. We all have our strengths in life and our own experiences. And maybe for me, I'm good at X, Y, and Z, and you're good at A, B, and C. And if you could show me how to do A, B, and C well, I'm not going to get offended, or I'm not going to act like I know more than you, right? But it's what happens many times in adult life. For whatever reason, it doesn't, like, I've seen this in every race. I've seen this in every income bracket. I've seen this in, other countries besides the US. And for whatever reason, just the vast majority of adults have huge egos. And, if you, it's like a mixture of stubbornness, pride, ego, and not willing to accept that other people can do things better than you, and getting offended over that. And that's kind of what the book, The 48 Laws of Power, deals with. Especially if you deal with chapter 1, which is like never outshine the master. But I'm not going to go into detail. But the biggest hardship I face becoming an adult is just seeing my own peers and friends becoming, like, I don't know if hard-headed is the right word, or closed-minded, but just feeling like they know everything without, like, and then you present to them like a solution that could be better than what they're doing, and they get like all like riled up and emotional and like, I don't know if you've ever seen that, but I've seen that so many times, which is why I'm an antisocial person. Because I don't want to deal with adults and grown bodies who have a mindset of a 5-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to deal with that. But that's really, like, I guess that's why I wanted to, I thought about suicide a lot when I was in my early 20s. Just the fact that I could not find one single person who was just kind of open-minded into, like, learning and growing. And I feel like once you become like 18 or 19, regardless of how little you learned in life, maybe there's like a switch that activates in like most people's brains that says that this is all you're going to learn. And maybe it's like some sort of survival mechanism where don't let anybody else teach you or inform you that there's a better way of doing things, And obviously there are a lot of people out there who feel like, wow, I know X, Y, and Z, and they do such a horrible job at it. There's a lot of that too. I mean, how many people do you know who give like financial advice, who are broke, or who give relationship advice, but they're not in, they've never been in a happy relationship, or, they give diet advice, but they're overweight. There are tons of people like that. And that's because of their ego too, because there's various reasons why people are like that. I think one of the reasons is that we have an educational system that shames young people for not knowing all the answers to life. And so once they become adults, they kind of internalize that conditioning, and they act like they know everything. And this is why I don't like most young people either, because I feel like I know what I'm dealing with when I'm dealing with like 20 something or teenagers who act like they know everything, but then what do? They just stare at a screen all day, right? And that's why when I talk about my own life experiences, it's always about, this happened to me, this was the consequences, and that's why I'm going to tell you that you shouldn't do X, Y, and Z, and that's your choice, right? And it's always because something happened to me, not because I read about it. Like if I've never directly experienced something, I'll say, oh, okay, I read about it and I think this is what happens, but I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I know I kind of like drifted off there, but I think really the biggest challenge of being an adult is just seeing how big other people's egos are and how it gets them nowhere in life because they refuse to just kind of learn. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not like the most open-minded person, and I kind of admit that. But at the same time, when someone shows me a better way to do things, why not, right? And obviously, I'm gonna like evaluate like the risk of what the information that they present me. But if it looks good, why not, right? But most people can't do that. It's like they have this weird roadblock that if they weren't taught something as a kid, or if it's not mainstream, they just can't accept it. And it's because of their ego. Like they can't accept anything that whatever they were taught as a kid may not be true. And I'd have to question a lot of things in my life when I was a young kid, or that I learned as a young kid. And I had to do it because I don't like learning things that do not benefit me or that go against my personal self-development. And there's a lot of things I learned as a young kid that were probably harmed me, was part of like negative effect of me in life that I had to almost pretty much spend years of my life unlearning. Right. So Saha Man here again with another video. If any thoughts, comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time.